The crimson sun bled across the horizon, painting the fractured plains of Xylos in shades of dying light. Kaelen, a solitary prospector, tightened the straps of his worn survival pack. He was a ghost in this desolate landscape, relentlessly chasing whispers of rare minerals, the only currency left on a world choking on its own dust. For weeks, a pervasive, chilling hum had vibrated through the ground, growing stronger, hinting at the calamity that consumed Xylos' core. Suddenly, a blinding emerald streak tore through the twilight sky, carving a fiery path toward the jagged peaks of the crystalline spires. A deafening roar followed, shaking the very air Kaelen breathed. He shielded his eyes, the light too intense, then watched as a colossal plume of smoke erupted miles away. This was no meteor. This was something else. His internal scanner, usually silent, blared a single, urgent alert. Life sign detected. Non-native. Critical. A cold dread mingled with an explorer's thrill. Kaelen had spent his life among rocks and desolate winds, avoiding sentient life. Yet a faint, undeniable pull drew him towards the impact site. Ignoring the instinct for self-preservation, he began his arduous trek across the cracked earth, the alien hum now a throbbing beat in his skull. It took hours, navigating treacherous ravines and unstable rock formations, the air growing heavy with an ozone scent. When he finally reached the heart of the crater, what he found was not a ship, but a shimmering, fractured pod, half buried in obsidian-like shards. Its outer shell, an unknown alloy, pulsed with a faint, dying light. Twisted metal peeled away like fragile petals. Kaelen approached cautiously, his heavy boots crunching on the debris. A faint moan, barely audible above the wind, came from within. He forced open a bent hatch, the metal groaning in protest. Inside, the dim light revealed a scene that froze his breath. A being lay sprawled on the floor, undeniably alien, yet breathtakingly beautiful. Her skin, a mesmerizing shade of emerald green, shimmered faintly even in the gloom, reflecting the fractured light like polished jade. Long, flowing hair, the color of moonlight, spilled around her, framing a face etched with pain. Her form was slender, undeniably sensual, yet clearly broken. Deep lacerations marred her limbs, and a viscous, luminous fluid, her blood, seeped from a gash in her side, pooling on the cold floor. Her breathing was shallow, ragged, a testament to her struggle for life. Kaelen dropped to his knees, his miner's calloused hands trembling slightly as he checked for a pulse. It was there, a faint flutter beneath her smooth skin, but dangerously slow. Her eyes, the color of twilight, fluttered open, revealing depths of ancient knowledge and profound agony. They locked onto his, a silent plea. A single, breathy word escaped her lips, a language he didn't understand, yet its meaning was unmistakable. Save us. Then, darkness claimed her. He didn't hesitate. Her body was surprisingly light, almost ethereal, yet radiated an unnerving warmth that seeped into his hands. He shed his thick outer jacket, wrapping it carefully around her, trying to stem the flow of blood. The wind howled through the crater, carrying whispers of the encroaching calamity. Night was falling fast, and the crimson sun had finally surrendered to the inky blackness. He had to move. He had to save her. And for some inexplicable reason, he felt a deeper purpose than just survival. He was carrying something vital, something more than just a damaged alien. He was carrying hope. Kaelen pressed on, the emerald-skinned alien cradled carefully in his arms. Her unsettling warmth intensified, a silent testament to the rapid, unknown changes within her. The crystalline spires, once distant, now loomed, their jagged peaks piercing the star-dusted sky like broken teeth. He found a narrow fissure, a natural cave hidden by ancient, twisting roots, and gently laid her down on a bed of dry moss. The portable heater from his pack hummed to life, battling the chill seeping from the rock walls. Her wounds, still seeping that glowing, viscous liquid, began to pulse faintly where his fingers had touched them. It wasn't healing he recognized. It was too fast, too ethereal. The emerald lines on her skin, subtle before, now shimmered with an inner light, moving like slow currents beneath the surface. He watched, a mix of fear and utter fascination, as the cuts on her arms sealed, leaving only faint, iridescent scars. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, wide and an almost luminous sapphire. She sat bolt upright, a choked gasp escaping her lips. "No, get away!" she cried, her voice a rapid cascade of melodic, unfamiliar sounds. She thrashed, her graceful limbs flailing, eyes unfocused, as if battling an unseen horror. Kaelen reached out, his voice calm. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe. It's just me." Her wild gaze finally fixed on him. Recognition flickered in those sapphire depths, then a sudden stillness. "You," she whispered, her alien tongue struggling with a human word. "You've not them." Her shoulders slumped, and she touched the places where her wounds had been. Pain fire shipbroken. Then hands. "You carried." She struggled for another word, then pointed to herself, Lyra. Kaelen offered a soft smile. "Lyra, I'm Kaelen." A long silence settled between them, punctuated only by the hum of the heater and the distant, low thrum of the Calamity outside. Lyra, though weak, held an innate grace even in her vulnerability. Her moonlight hair fanned around her, tangled yet captivating. She looked around the cramped cave, her gaze lingering on his simple gear, a weathered map, a crackling comm unit, a few mineral samples. "You live here?" she asked, her voice still a little hoarse. "Just traveling," Kaelen replied, "prospecting, exploring." Her sapphire eyes, now clear and intelligent, met his. "Why save me?" He shrugged, a genuine warmth spreading through him. "You were dying, and I know what it's like to be alone out here." Something in her features softened, a delicate shift that revealed profound gratitude. "Thank you," she murmured. Later, as Lyra rested, sipping a warm, nutrient-rich broth from his emergency rations, Kaelen stepped outside, needing a moment under the vast, uncaring stars. They glittered above Xylos, indifferent to the dying world below. He wondered where she came from, what life she knew, what enemies could bring down a being so luminous, so beautiful. He heard the soft rustle of the cave flap. Lyra stood there, wrapped in his spare thermal blanket, her emerald skin glowing faintly in the starlight. "I feel strange," she said, her hand resting lightly over her lower abdomen. Kaelen frowned, concern etching his face. "Are you still hurt?" She shook her head, her moonlight hair swaying. "No," inside changing. Her eyes, now glowing more intensely, fixed on him. "When you touched me, when you carried, I felt heat, not fire. Different. I didn't mean to," he began, a flush rising to his cheeks. "No," she interrupted quickly. "Not bad, just strange." She looked up at the indifferent stars. "Why can't we react this way? Near ending. Body tries, save itself. Through connection. Through life." A chill ran down Kaelen's spine. "React how?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lyra's gaze pierced his, her voice dropping to a low, profound tone. "When the body is breaking, sometimes it chooses to save itself. Through bonding. Through life. I think I am carrying." Kaelen stared, the words echoing in the silence of the dying world. "Carrying what?" She placed her hand over her belly again, a faint pulse visible beneath the emerald skin. "I don't know how, but I feel it. A spark. A pulse. It's inside me." He staggered back, stunned. "Wait, you mean like a child?" Lyra nodded slowly. "But that's impossible," he stammered. We didn't. I know," she said, her voice soft but firm. "But my kind, sometimes the body chooses. Not the mind. Not your way." The wind whispered past them, carrying the pervasive hum of the Calamity. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with a quiet strength. "I don't blame you. I don't fear. But you must know, something new growing inside me. And I think part of it is yours. The faint glow of Lyra's skin intensified with the dawn, illuminating the intimate space of the cave. Kaelen, still reeling from a revelation, stared at his portable scanner. The device, designed to detect mineral deposits, now clearly displayed a faint but distinct pulse within Lyra's form, separate from her own heartbeat. A second life, impossibly small, yet undeniably real, was taking root. He ran a hand through his hair, his mind a whirlwind of disbelief and a strange, nascent hope. This was beyond anything he knew, beyond human, beyond alien. Lyra sat a few feet away, serene despite the impossible truth she carried. Her legs were crossed, palms resting lightly on her knees, eyes closed. The luminous emerald patterns on her skin shifted and flowed like liquid starlight, a silent, ancient meditation, or perhaps a deeper communion. When her sapphire eyes finally opened, they held a calm, unwavering certainty. "You see it too," she stated, not asked. Kaelen nodded, a deep breath filling his lungs. "Yes, it's real. Something is growing inside you." A faint, ethereal smile touched Lyra's lips. "Not something. Someone." He blinked. "How can you be so sure?" She looked down at her belly, where the pulse thrummed faintly beneath her skin. "I feel him. The spark is alive. My body is changing, adapting to protect him." Kaelen rubbed his face, the logic of his world crumbling. "This doesn't make sense. There was no contact." Lyra tilted her head, her gaze soft but knowing. "Not in your way. For my people, touch is different. Energy moves through the skin. Connection, it can trigger a response, especially when life itself is at stake." He stood, pacing the small confines of the cave. "This is impossible." Lyra watched him patiently. After a moment, she spoke, her voice clear and resonant. "Your blood has strength. Your touch, it healed me. Your will carried me through death. And that is enough to create life in my species. Life does not always begin with choice, Kaelen. Sometimes it begins with survival." He sank back down beside her, confusion warring with a new, profound understanding. "So, this child is part me?" She nodded. "It carries both of us. But how can that be?" His voice was a low whisper. "We're not the same. Not even close." Lyra turned her head, her glowing eyes softening even further. "We were never meant to be the same. But perhaps we were meant to meet." Later that day, Lyra slept again, her body requiring more rest now. Her skin pulsed with a warmer, brighter glow with each passing hour, and she unconsciously curled around her belly, instinctively protective. Kaelen stepped outside, gazing at the rapidly fading stars in the morning light. Questions swirled in his mind. What kind of child would be born from two such disparate worlds? Would the baby even survive the harshness of Xylos, or the growing threat of the Calamity? And Lyra? What would become of them? He didn't have long for contemplation. A sharp, rhythmic chirp, distinctly unnatural, echoed from the cliffs above. A signal. Kaelen grabbed his personal scope, scanning the desolate peaks. His heart lurched. A ship, small and sleek, almost invisible against the clouds, was scanning the valley below. It wasn't Lyra's, and it certainly wasn't human. He rushed back into the cave. "Lyra, wake up!" Her eyes opened slowly, sensing his urgency. "What is it?" "Someone's found us. A ship. They're searching." She sat up instantly, a flicker of panic in her sapphire eyes. "Is it marked? Is it my people?" "I couldn't tell. But it's not yours, is it?" She shook her head, fear beginning to show clearly on her beautiful face. "They might be from my world. My people, they monitor escape pods. If mine was tracked." Kaelen grabbed his gear. "Then we have to move. Now." Lyra placed a glowing hand on his arm. "I can't go far. Not in this state." "Then I'll carry you again," he said, his voice firm, unwavering. She blinked at him, surprise mingling with the fear in her eyes. "You would still protect me? After what I told you?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he gently touched her hand, his gaze dropping to her glowing abdomen. "You're not just some injured stranger anymore, Lyra." His eyes met hers. "You're carrying my future." They packed what little they could. Kaelen lifted her gently, carefully, just as he had that first night. But this time it was different. He wasn't just aiding a desperate survivor. He was safeguarding his nascent family. The ship in the sky moved closer, its scanner emitting an insistent, rhythmic beep. Lyra's voice was a soft whisper against his neck as he carried her through the sparse, wind-whipped trees. "They will try to stop this, Kaelen. They do not believe in mixed life." "I do," he stated, his jaw set. She looked at him, and for the first time, her voice cracked with raw emotion. "Then hold me, no matter what happens." He tightened his grip, whispering, "I will." The desolate valley narrowed into a deep, echoing canyon, its sheer cliffs rising on both sides like ancient, indifferent guardians. Shadows clung heavily here, deep and cold, untouched by the dying light of Xylos' sun. The air felt thick, heavy, a suffocating stillness that even the ever-present hum of the Calamity struggled to penetrate. Kaelen moved with a desperate urgency, Lyra cradled against his chest. Every few steps, she would let out a soft groan, her body now ablaze with an internal fire. The luminous emerald lines on her skin pulsed with an alarming speed, like veins made of pure, unstable energy. She wasn't just burning up, she was transforming, the life within her accelerating at an impossible rate. The child, whatever essence it held, was demanding its birth. They found a shallow alcove beneath a massive, overhanging rock, concealed by a curtain of gnarled, ancient roots. Kaelen gently lowered Lyra onto a makeshift bed of moss, placing his coat beneath her head. He checked the scanner again. The alien ship was still circling above, a silent predator, but it hadn't landed. "They haven't found us," he whispered, a sliver of hope in his voice. "Not yet," Lyra replied weakly, her voice thin and breathy. Her sapphire eyes fluttered, struggling to stay open. "You need to rest," Kaelen urged, opening his water pack. She took the canteen but barely drank, her hands trembling. "I feel the change," she whispered, her gaze distant, focused inward. "It's happening fast." Kaelen sat beside her, his mind racing. "You said this wasn't normal for your kind?" "It isn't," she confirmed. "My people, we carry life slowly, carefully. It takes many cycles. But this..." She placed a glowing hand over her abdomen, where the pulse thrummed fiercely. "This is not slow. This is human fast." He stared at her belly. It wasn't visibly swollen, yet something profound had shifted. A raw warmth, an untamed power, emanated from within her, and it terrified him. "Lyra," he asked gently, his voice barely audible, "what happens when a child is born?" She looked at him, a profound sadness in her luminous eyes. "I don't know. No one ever allowed a child like this to be born." Kaelen stiffened, a cold dread washing over him. "What do you mean?" She turned her head away, her voice strained. "Hybrids are forbidden. My people, they believe mixing with outsiders weakens our blood. Any pregnancy like this, it's erased." Kaelen's voice hardened, laced with a dangerous fury. "Erased? Terminated? Quietly before it grows?" He stood, his fists clenched, his body rigid. "That's not a law. That's murder." Lyra didn't defend it. She looked utterly exhausted, tragically resigned. "It's what they are taught." Kaelen knelt beside her, his gaze unwavering. "What about you, Lyra? Do you believe it?" Her sapphire eyes met his, filled with a raw honesty. "I believed them once, until I met you." Another silence descended, heavy and profound. Then, Lyra whispered, "I should leave." Kaelen blinked, bewildered. "What?" "I should leave this world. Find a shuttle. Run. Go where they can't find me." "No," he said, his voice firm. She sat up slowly, the effort clearly taxing her. "If I stay here, I'll put you in danger. The child, too. What if they come with soldiers? What if they destroy this place?" "I don't care," Kaelen said, his voice ringing with conviction. Lyra stared at him, truly surprised. "You don't care if they come?" "I don't care about what they want," he corrected, his gaze intense. "I care about you. About this child. About the choice we make." She breathed deeply, her fingers curling into the soft moss beneath her. I was ready to die before you found me. I was alone, hunted, broken. But now, she looked down at her belly, where the life pulsed with increasing urgency. Now, I feel something inside me. Not just life. Hope. Kaelin's lips curved into a soft, genuine smile. Then stay. Stay with me. We'll protect this life. Together. She shook her head slowly, a faint, melancholic smile on her face. It won't be easy. He let out a short, dry laugh, the sound rough and low. Nothing good ever is. That night, the wind howled fiercely through the canyon, rattling the few stunted trees clinging to the cliff faces. Inside the cave, Lyra couldn't sleep. She sat beside Kaelen, both of them staring into the flickering flames of a small fire he'd managed to coax from some dry brush. "Do you miss your home?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I left it for a reason." "What reason?" He hesitated, then answered, his gaze fixed on the embers. "To find something worth staying for." She leaned against him gently, her glowing skin radiating a comforting warmth. "I think you found it." A few hours later, Lyra's body began to shake violently. The luminous lines along her skin pulsed with frantic speed, and her breathing grew heavy, ragged. "It's starting," she whispered, her voice tight with effort. Kaelen immediately helped her lie down, his heart hammering against his ribs. "But it's too early," he protested, his voice laced with panic. "It's only been a few days." She gripped his hand, her touch surprisingly strong. "My body, it's changing because of your energy. Your presence, it makes it grow faster." He stared at her, unsure, helpless. "Tell me what to do, Lyra. Just tell me." She looked up at him, her sapphire eyes glowing with an otherworldly intensity. "Don't let go." The cave was suddenly filled with a soft, ethereal white light, emanating directly from Lyra. Her body arched, not in pain, but in sheer raw power. This was not a normal birth. Not human. Not alien. This was something entirely new, something primal. She cried out, a sound that was not born of fear, but of profound, elemental strength. Kaelen held her hand, and in that moment, something pulsed through him too, a surge of energy, a deep, undeniable connection. He felt the child, not just as a presence, but as a direct, intrinsic bond. Hours passed, stretching into an eternity. The light slowly faded, leaving only the soft glow of Lyra's skin. She lay quiet, her body cooling, and in her arms, a tiny, glowing infant. Its eyes were shut, its skin soft and iridescent, a perfect blend of silver and emerald. A quiet, steady heartbeat thrummed from its tiny chest, and then a small cry, high soft, yet filled with the incredible promise of life. Kaelen dropped to his knees, utterly speechless, tears blurring his vision. Lyra looked at him, her own eyes glistening. "He lives." Kaelen reached out, his finger tentatively touching the infant's tiny hand. It curled instinctively around his, and in that simple touch, all fear vanished, replaced by an overwhelming wave of fierce, protective love. Outside, the scanner blared again. The ship had landed. Someone was coming. But Kaelen didn't stand up to fight. He stood up to protect. His family was here now, and for them, he would never run. The newborn, their son, slept soundly in Lyra's arms, his skin shimmering with a faint, silver emerald light. Tiny breaths rose and fell from his small chest, and his minuscule fingers instinctively curled around Lyra's. His heartbeat, a soft, steady drum, resonated not just within his small body, but within Kaelen and Lyra too. Kaelen had never known such profound peace. He also had never known such consuming fear. For now, he had everything to lose. The wind outside shifted, carrying a low, insistent hum through the ancient trees. Kaelen's eyes snapped to the scanner. It was still blinking red. The alien ship had landed, less than a kilometer away. No more hiding. "They're close," he stated, his voice flat. Lyra didn't look up, her gaze fixed on their child. She gently kissed his forehead. They've come to take him. Kaelen stepped out of the cave, the surrounding forest unnervingly silent. He swiftly placed motion sensors near the narrow ridge and strategically positioned jagged rocks in the pass. He even coated some thick vines with a flammable resin, just in case. He wasn't a soldier, but he'd been a survivor for too long to be caught unprepared. As he meticulously set a trap under a fallen log, Lyra joined him, still weak, yet radiating strength, their son cradled securely in a sling across her chest. "I can help," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "You should be resting," Kaelen replied, his eyes scanning the tree line. "I'm not just a mother," she countered, her gaze hardening. "I was a battle medic in my world. I remember how to defend." Kaelen looked at her, a surge of fierce pride swelling within him. "Then let's make sure they never forget what we built here." They didn't have to wait long. A brilliant blue beam sliced through the trees nearby, momentarily blinding them. The ground shook softly, then they heard it. Footsteps. Not one, not two, but dozens. The clinking of armor, the snapping of branches, the very jungle seemed to bend and part for them. Kaelen and Lyra stood at the cave entrance as the alien squad emerged from the dense foliage. At the front stood a female alien, her violet skin stark against the dark armor she wore. Her golden eyes were cold, sharp, and her armor, impeccably clean, marked her as a leader. Lyra whispered, "High Enforcer Myra, my clan's lawkeeper." Kaelen gripped his scavenged blade tighter. Myra stepped forward, her voice resonating with an unyielding authority. "Lyra of the Aryan bloodline, you have been found." Lyra's reply was calm, unwavering. "I didn't hide. You disobeyed the sacred pairing. You fled. And now," Myra's voice dropped, laced with contempt, "you carry a corrupted child." Her gaze, chillingly precise, flicked to the infant. "Surrender the boy. He will be dealt with painlessly." Kaelen stepped forward, his voice a low growl. "The hell he will." Myra looked at him as if he were an irritating insect. "You are the human, the contaminant." "I'm the father," Kaelen retorted, his stance defiant. "And I will not let you touch him." The guards aimed their energy weapons, but Kaelen didn't flinch. He stood taller, his eyes blazing. "Try me." Myra paused, a flicker of surprise in her golden eyes, then said coldly, "You bonded with her." "Yes." "You allowed a child." "I didn't allow it," Kaelen interrupted, a faint smirk touching his lips. "I welcomed it." Myra turned her gaze back to Lyra, disdain evident in her posture. "You disappoint your bloodline. You would throw away everything for this creature." Lyra lifted her chin, her emerald skin glowing brighter with defiance. "He is more than any royal I've ever known. He gave his body to save mine. He gave his strength to protect our child. He is not the outsider. You are." The air crackled with tension. Then Myra raised her hand. "Take the child." 3 guards rushed forward, but Kaelen was ready. He yanked the preset vine, and a controlled burst of fire exploded from behind the rocks. 1 guard screamed, tumbling in a shower of sparks. The others stumbled back, momentarily disoriented. Lyra, meanwhile, lifted her hand, and a pulse of pure energy burst from her palm, pushing 2 more guards violently away. The baby, startled by the chaos, began to cry. But the sound was not normal. It was impossibly loud, echoing through the canyon like a raw, resonating wave. Myra clapped her hands over her ears, her face contorted. "What is that?" The remaining guards staggered back, stunned. Even the ancient jungle seemed to shiver and subtly shift. Kaelen moved between them and Lyra, protecting his family. "I won't say it again. You're not taking my son." Myra hissed, her voice filled with venom. "This is blasphemy." "No," Lyra said softly, her voice filled with an unexpected power. "This is evolution." A sharp, resonant hum filled the air. The baby's powerful cry had activated something in the very essence of the forest. The stunted trees began to glow faintly, their branches illuminating the canyon walls. The stone beneath them pulsed with a soft, inner light. The jungle had seen this child, and it had accepted him. One guard dropped his weapon, stepping back, fear widening his eyes. He carries the mark. Myra snarled, her face contorted with fury. He carries danger. He will break our traditions. Then maybe they need to break, Kaelen countered, his gaze firm. Myra raised her energy blade, its hum growing louder. Last chance. Kaelen raised his own crude blade, prepared to face her. Lyra stepped beside him, holding their child tightly. If you want our son, she said, her voice resonating with a new, fierce determination, you'll have to go through both of us. Then a voice, ancient and serene, echoed from above. Enough. Everyone froze. From the canopy of the glowing trees, an elder figure floated down, robed in luminous white, hovering gently on a soft disk of light. Her face was ancient, etched with wisdom, yet radiated a profound kindness and immense power. The forest has spoken, the elder stated, her voice like chimes in the wind. Myra, though visibly seething, bowed her head reluctantly. Elder Vina, this is a criminal matter. No, the elder interrupted, her voice firm. This is a turning point. She floated towards the child, her ancient gaze gentle, filled with wonder. He is not a mistake. She looked at Lyra, a soft smile gracing her lips. You are not exiled anymore. Then, she turned to Kaelen, her eyes twinkling. And you, human, have shown us that even Deathworlders can love more deeply than we imagined. She then faced Myra, her voice hardening. Withdraw. Myra's jaw tightened, but she obeyed. The armored soldiers retreated, melting back into the shadows of the glowing trees. The fight was over for now. Later that night, under the now gentle glow of the Xylosian stars, Kaelen sat by the small fire, holding his sleeping son. Lyra leaned into him, tired but a soft smile gracing her lips. He looks like you, Kaelen murmured, tracing the tiny nose with his finger. He glows like me, she replied, her own emerald skin still subtly luminous. They shared a soft laugh, a sound of fragile joy in the quiet canyon. Then, Lyra whispered, You didn't run. You fought for us. Kaelen looked at her, then down at their child, and simply said, I chose us. The jungle was calm again, but only on the surface. Kaelen sat near the cave entrance, sharpening his scavenge blade. His hands moved slow and steady, but his mind raced. Elder Vina's arrival had halted Myra's soldiers for now, but not forever. Lyra sat beside the fire, her arms around the baby, rocking him gently. She didn't speak much, her eyes fixed on the shadows in the trees, where the guards had stood, where others might return. The baby cooed softly, a faint glow emanating from his small form. He doesn't know what's happening, Lyra whispered, her voice heavy with worry. He doesn't need to, Kaelen said, his gaze hard. He just needs to stay safe. Lyra nodded, her face etched with concern. The High Council won't accept the Elder's words forever. Myra won't stop. They'll come again, this time with more force. Then we won't be here, Kaelen stated, standing up. I've been building something. Lyra raised an eyebrow, curiosity replacing some of her worry. What? He motioned for her to follow. They walked past the immediate cave, down a hidden slope shrouded in thick vines. At the base, partially buried in the dirt, was a flat piece of dark metal. Kaelen kicked away some moss and lifted it, a hidden hatch. Lyra stared, her sapphire eyes wide. This is a ship pod, she breathed. Kaelen grinned, a rare, genuine smile. Parts of one. I've been collecting scraps for months since I landed here. I never had a reason to finish it. And now, he looked at her, his gaze intense, you and him. That's my reason. They worked all day. Kaelen meticulously attached power coils and rewired engines, his miner's experience proving invaluable. Lyra used her innate energy, her hands glowing with emerald light as she touched the ship's frame, restarting dead circuits, coaxing life back into the dormant machinery. Her alien biology seemed to hum in sync with the metal, and the pod lit up as if remembering its purpose. The baby slept soundly inside the cave, wrapped in moss blankets, watched over by the soft, new light of the forest. Night fell again, and the sound returned. Engines. Not theirs. Kaelen stood upright, his muscles tensing. They were back. This time, it wasn't just a squad. It was an assault craft. Large, heavily armored, landing with a deafening thud. The trees bent with the force of the blast. Fire rippled through the leaves, and startled birds scattered into the dark sky. From the ramp, Lyra descended again, now flanked by a full royal guard. No speeches. No warnings. Lyra backed away slowly. She's not here to talk. Kaelen placed a hand on her back, guiding her. Get to the pod. Get the baby. I'll buy you time. She turned, her eyes wide with desperation. You can't fight all of them. I don't have to win, he said, pulling out his blade. Just give you a head start. He kissed her forehead, a quick, fierce gesture. Go! Lyra ran. Kaelen stepped forward, placing himself between his family and the approaching threat. Lyra raised a hand, her voice icy. He does not belong. Kaelen smirked, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. Neither do you. She rushed him. Kaelen dodged left, slashing low, catching her leg. The other guards surrounded him, 5 against 1. But he moved like a shadow, striking, ducking, rolling through the mud and fire that now erupted from the jungle floor. His skin glowed faintly, his bond with Lyra and the child powering his every move. One guard fell. Another screamed, but then a searing shot to his ribs. He dropped to one knee, gasping. Lyra stood over him, panting, her blade at his throat. You were never meant to be part of this. Kaelen looked up at her, blood on his lips. That's what makes it special. Just as Lyra raised her blade for the killing blow, a piercing scream rang out. Lyra! From the trees behind Lyra, a beam of pure, white energy shot into the sky. Lyra whirled around. A massive wave hit the ground, a palpable shock wave emanating from the baby's cry. Trees bent. Stones cracked. Armor shook. Guards dropped their weapons, their eyes wide with disbelief and terror. The baby stood in Lyra's arms, glowing with an intense, blinding light, his tiny body pulsing with raw, untamed energy. No one had ever seen such a display of power. Lyra fell to one knee, her face a mask of shock. What is this? Lyra stepped forward, her voice resonating like thunder, amplified by the child's power. He is our future, and you will not touch him. Elder Vina arrived again, this time with witnesses, cloaked figures, silent recorders, council observers. Lyra struggled to her feet, weak. He's unstable. He's a threat. The elder raised her hand, her voice calm but firm. He is powerful. That is not the same as dangerous. Kaelen limped to Lyra's side. The baby, sensing his father, reached out a tiny, glowing hand. When Kaelen touched it, the blinding glow from the child calmed, softening to a gentle shimmer. The forest went silent, hushed in awe. The baby smiled, a beautiful, innocent blend of human warmth and alien light. One council member, a tall figure shrouded in shadows, finally spoke. We have never seen this. He is not just their child, another murmured, stepping forward. A third, voice filled with wonder, added, he is a bridge. The elder turned to Lyra, her gaze unwavering. Withdraw your blade, High Enforcer, or be judged by the world you've failed to understand. Lyra dropped her weapon. The battle was over. That night, beneath the benevolent stars, Kaelen held their son, who slept peacefully. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, utterly exhausted but content. He's strong, she whispered. He's only days old, and already stronger than both of us. Kaelen chuckled softly. Takes after you. She shook her head. No, he takes after us. She took his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. Almost died today. I know, Kaelen said quietly. But I don't regret it, she affirmed, looking into his eyes. Neither do I, he replied, squeezing her hand. The makeshift ship was ready now. The council, influenced by Elder Vina and the awe-inspiring display of their son's power, had granted them passage, not as fugitives, but as a recognized family. They would leave the dying world of Xylos, not to hide, but to begin a new journey, forge a new name, create a new kind of life. And when their small ship lifted off, ascending into the star-dusted cosmos, the jungle of Xylos watched, whispering to the wind a timeless truth. They were born in fire, but they rose in love. 5 years later, the planet they once called a death world, Xylos, was now a distant memory. The child born beneath its glowing trees, amidst fire and fear and love, had grown, not just taller, not just stronger, but profoundly different. His name was Torin, not fully human, not fully alien, but fully alive. He could speak 3 languages before the age of 4, his emerald silver skin shimmering with a soft light when he was happy. When he cried, nearby machines sometimes flickered to life, plants leaned towards him, and sometimes even distant stars seemed to blink in rhythm with his tiny breaths. But what made him truly special was not his glow. It was the way he loved, the way he looked at people with wide, curious eyes, the way he held his parents' hands as if they were his entire world. To him, they were. Kaelen now worked as a systems builder on a neutral world called Rari Prime, a bustling hub where diverse species met for trade, peace, and often secrets. They had a small home carved into the amber cliffs, with a view of the twin suns. Lyra, once hunted and marked for termination, now worked with leading scientists, patiently teaching them how bonding energy worked, how it healed, how it could bring forth life. They never called themselves heroes. They simply called themselves a family. But peace, as always, never lasts forever. One morning, the skies over Rari Prime darkened. A chilling message came through the official channels from the Unified Core Council. A grave threat had emerged. An ancient weapon, long forgotten, had awakened on the very edge of the known galaxy. And worse, it responded only to unique energy signatures, like torrents. It meant one thing. We need the child, the council representative stated, her voice devoid of emotion. Kaelen's arms were crossed, his eyes sharp, resolute. He's not a weapon. He's just a kid. The council rep nodded. Yes, but he's the only one who can enter the gate without being torn apart. It's keyed to hybrid energy. Lyra sat silently, holding Torin's hand. The 5-year-old listened quietly, his glowing eyes fixed on the adults. Then he spoke, his voice clear and earnest. I want to help. Kaelen turned to his son, his face stern. No, you're too young. I'm strong. Torin insisted, a faint shimmer emanating from him. I can feel things. I can calm things. Lyra looked at both of them, a silent plea in her eyes. Let him choose. Kaelen stepped back, a father, not a general. Not anymore. They arrived at the edge of known space 3 days later. A black planet, scarred and desolate, floated like a wound in the stars. The weapon, a fortress forgotten by time, rested at its core. Ancient, incomprehensible technology pulsed ominously across its surface. Other ships had already tried to land. None had returned. Torin stood before the colossal, swirling gate, a vibrant contrast to the darkness. The ancient machines scanned him, and impossibly, accepted his signature. He turned to his parents, his face full of quiet courage. Come with me. Lyra smiled, a brave, loving smile. Always. Kaelen took her hand, and then Torin's. Together, they stepped through. The inside was alive. Lights glowed softly as they passed, and massive doors opened silently before they could even knock. Holographic projections flickered to life, ancient eyes watching their every move. The weapon was not a machine in the way they understood. It was a judge. It had waited thousands of years for one thing, a being with 2 energies, a heart split between stars. Torin stood in the center of the vast chamber, a tiny figure dwarfed by its scale. A voice, ancient and echoing, filled the space. Who are you? He answered simply, his small voice resonating with an unexpected power. Torin, son of Xylos, son of Earth, child of both. And what do you want? The voice boomed. I want to protect the light. The oppressive darkness that had filled the chamber faded, then returned, brighter than ever. The weapon, the ancient judge, shut down. Forever. Outside, the council watched, stunned. The threat was over. But something far greater had begun. That night, on a quiet balcony overlooking Rari Prime's twin moons, Kaelen held a small glass of fruit juice. Torin sat beside him, his legs dangling. "You scared me today," Kaelen said, ruffling his son's soft, glowing hair. Torin giggled. "You're 5, Kaelen continued, a warm smile on his face. "You shouldn't be disabling galaxy killers." "Then what should I be doing?" Torin asked, looking up at him. "Climbing trees. Making friends. I like saving people more," Torin stated simply. Kaelen looked at him, quiet for a moment. "You're not like me, are you?" Torin shook his head. "No, I'm more like us." Lyra joined them, wrapping a warm blanket around her son's shoulders. "The stars are quieter tonight," she observed, gazing at the glittering expanse above. "Because of him," Kaelen replied, pulling them both closer. "Because of all of us," Lyra corrected, her voice soft but firm. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky together, a new family forged from impossible circumstances. And in the vast, ancient archives of the galaxy, a new entry was added. A story once whispered only in wild forests and dying canyons, now written in starlight. Kaelen had had no idea the injured alien woman he carried that night would become his family and bear his child. But what he gave her was not just life. He gave her a future, and together they gave the galaxy something it had never seen before: hope.